Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me Good morning, y'all. Oh my goodness. I was looking for a funny photo of the person that we're going to be talking about today, and this was the best I could get. Good morning. If you're just tuning in, let me know if you can hear me and see me before I get started. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me pull up my notes. We're gonna talk about the refund king today. When I saw this complaint, I was like, oh my gosh, like we gotta discuss this. Number one, because this is really happening in real life. Also, tax preparers are still using the oldest trick in the book. Like the Internal Revenue Service is not hip to all the bogus shit that they're doing and what they're adding to these clients' tax returns. So give me 1 minute. Let me get my notes pulled up because I do want to talk about I want to discuss the complaint and the charges. Good morning. Good morning. Let me know if you can hear me. Please drop a comment in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from and let me know that you can hear me. I should have cleaned my glasses before I started. Um, let's see. Let me check my comments. Let me know where you're tuning in from and drop a message in the comments, please, so I can make sure that you all can hear me. Let me I don't know if my messages are delayed, but I don't see anything in the chat. So I will. Okay, I can hear myself. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is gonna be real funny today, as you can see. I cannot stop laughing. This is what I do for fun. People scroll and read stuff on social media, Facebook, TikTok, all that stuff. I don't have TikTok. My fun is reading tax cases and complaints. This is my fun. My friends and my siblings be telling me, "Girl, you need to get TikTok," because they're always sending funny links, and I can't see it because I don't have TikTok. Ain't nobody got time for that. Anyway, good morning. If you're new here, my name is Melinda Tolbert, and I specialize in helping businesses with payroll tax issues avoid prison time. So I stop business owners from going to prison because payroll tax will lead to prison time very easily. If you've been following me, you already know I don't just talk about taxes. I talk about what happens when things go wrong in the tax industry because every single day, tax preparers, business owners, and wealthy individuals think they figured out how to beat the Internal Revenue Service. They inflate numbers and deductions. They create fake businesses, which is what we're going to talk about today. They manipulate credits and refunds, and for a while, it works. But when the IRS stops auditing and they start building a criminal case, bank records get subpoenaed. Investigators start interviewing clients, which is what happened on this case that we're about to discuss today. Federal prosecutors step in, and eventually someone gets indicted. Welcome to another episode of The Indictment. And I lied. Let me tell y'all. So the plan was to go live every day, but that's not gonna happen. Number one, I got too many clients, and two, I travel too much, way too much. So I'm gonna get on here as often as I can, at least 2 to 3 times a week, to discuss different cases. But it's just not gonna happen every day. So today, good Lord. This case, well, actually this today's topic, this is not an indictment. And there may be an indictment out there for this client, but for what I have is the complaint because I want tax preparers to really understand what can happen to you if you continue doing all this fraudulent stuff on these people's tax returns. My clients, my relief clients, they are in tax trouble, so they come to me for help. And I try to make sure that moving forward that they're with a reputable tax preparer that actually know tax law, know how to reduce their taxable income without doing fraud, such as using fake businesses, adding fake deductions or credits on the Schedule A, fake depreciation. I have seen it all and I'm still seeing it. And it's like, when are y'all gonna learn? When are y'all gonna learn? So today we're again, this is a complaint for a permanent injunction, which means that the government is asking the court to completely shut a tax preparer down. So the government, they obviously can't just shut you down. They have to have permission from the courts to shut you down, and to ban you from preparing taxes. And that's what we're gonna discuss today. So this person, I'm not gonna disclose the name, but he wasn't just anybody. He wasn't just a tax preparer that was keying in numbers and don't know tax law. He was an enrolled agent. He was an EA, and he was also a certified accounting analyst. Now, I've never heard of a certified accounting analyst, but obviously it's the thing because it's in the complaint. So he knew the rules. Unless he's a really good test taker, like you really got to know tax law to pass the EA exam. He was preparing over 1,500 returns per year. So that's a lot. And most of those returns, and I'll do a deep dive by the years, but most of over 90% of all those returns were, they had fake businesses on the returns. So he had a scheme. Um it said that it was 93 to 96% of his returns claimed refunds. And that was just in 2026 alone. So let's start there. We are in April. Well, for some people, tax season is about to be over. For some people, tax season is just getting started. If I was preparing taxes, tax season would probably be just kicking off for me because most of my clients were real businesses. So, and they filed extensions. So um, 1,870 returns is what he's already prepared in 2026. Let me pull the date up because I think it was like March, as of March 26th of 2026, this man has already filed 1,870 returns. This is where it gets crazy. So he was creating fake Schedule C businesses, adding expenses that didn't exist, and creating losses to lower people's taxable income. And the wild part is the clients allegedly, and all this, let me put this disclaimer out here. All of this is allegedly, even though I'm not putting the person's name out there, all of this is allegedly, okay? Some of the clients didn't even know that they had a business on the return. Some people might say, how is that possible? It is possible because some tax preparers will give you one return, and when you leave, they will go in and change the return and submit something that you have no idea that's on your return. It happens. I've seen it. Some people do know about it and they act like they don't know what's going on when they're caught, but others, they don't. They really don't know about it. One client had a fake real estate business with depreciation on their house and their car. And that's another real old trick. Like I recently just audited the tax return. I could look at the tax return and I could tell you this I could tell you what's wrong. Audits has always been my thing. A lot of people don't like audits, but I love audits. I love looking at a tax return and piecing together, putting the puzzle together and spotting what's fraud, what's fake, and what don't look right. So most of these people are saying that they never had a business. Of course, even if they knew about it, when they get caught, they always say that they never had a business. The IRS estimates over $10 million in loss, and that's just for the 2023 tax year. And they estimated a $6 million loss in the 2024 tax year. This didn't happen overnight. So let's go back a little bit. He got hit with penalties. He got hit with over $500,000 in penalties because of his negligence. But that didn't stop him. But he kept filing returns. Like he didn't give a damn that he was under investigation. He knew he was under investigation because he was penalized over $500,000. But that didn't stop him. So let me pull up the counts. I want to go over the counts with you. If you are a tax preparer and you are still filing fraudulent tax returns, this can happen to you. Let me pull up these counts. So I think he had about 5 different counts. The first count, let me pull it up. I'm not going to go over the prepare activities because I gave you a high level overview of what he was doing. I want to get into the different counts that the government. Let's start with the harm that's caused by the defendant's conduct. So the government is pleading to the courts, and this is the harm that they're saying was caused by the defendant's conduct. The defendant is the person that they are suing, which is the tax preparer. It says the defendant's pattern of preparing returns that understated his customers' taxes and overstated their refunds through the scheme described above, resulting in a loss of significant tax revenue to the United States, which estimates over $10 million for tax year 2023 and $6 million for tax return for 2024. In many instances, the defendant's fraudulent understatement of his customers' taxable income and overstatement of his customers' refunds and credits caused the U.S. to issue refunds to the customers that were not entitled to receive them. Along with the lost tax revenue, the United States must bear the substantial cost of examining returns defendants prepares and collecting the understated liabilities from his customers. Now, what that means is all these returns that this client has prepared, the government is saying if you don't they're talking to the courts, if you don't ban him from preparing taxes, we're going to have to go and audit all these returns one by one to determine what we need to collect back. So this is how, and this is why taxpayers, I always try to tell them, don't shop price, don't price shop. You need to shop experience, and you need to shop their background, your tax preparer background, because as you can see, credentials clearly don't mean anything. This person was an enrolled agent and he still was doing all this fraudulent shit. So if you are a taxpayer and you trying to find the cheapest person to do your tax return, you're going to get what you pay for. Okay. Find somebody reputable that knows tax law and do a background, do your due diligence on this tax preparer. If they only charging you $299 to prepare your tax return, I don't know about that, because tax preparers are having to do way too much right now to even submit a tax return. The Internal Revenue Service has basically turned all preparers into auditors, because if they don't do certain things right on your tax return, they can be fined. That's what the due diligence stuff is all about. So it says the defendant's illegal conduct also harms honest tax preparers because preparing tax returns that unlawfully inflates his customer's refund. Defendant has a competitive advantage over tax return preparers who prepare returns in accordance with law. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. Let's go to the count. So count 1 was injunction under 26 U.S. Section 7407. Section 7407 of the Internal Revenue Code authorizes a district court to enjoin a person who is a tax preparer from engaging in certain conduct or from further acting as a tax return preparer. The prohibited conduct justifying an injunction includes the following. So, enjoin means like court order. So, the government is asking for this to be a court order, and I'm going to explain to you why in a minute. Engaging in conduct subject to penalty under 26 United States Code, Section 6694, which penalizes a tax return preparer who prepares a return that contains an understatement of tax liability or an overstatement of a refund or credit due to an unreasonable position that the preparer knew or should have known was unreasonable. So let me tell y'all my Ebonics version of that. That means you knew better. This is what the government is saying. You knew better and you did it anyway. So they're saying you was out here playing with people return like it was a group project. Okay. You put in numbers here, there, everywhere, like Dr. Seuss. And he just didn't care. Like he was creating all kind of fake shit. But the stuff that he was doing is still the oldest tricks in the book that the Internal Revenue Service was hip to. So he wasn't doing anything that the Internal Revenue Service was not hip to. So that's all count one is saying. All right, let's go to count two. So count two. Oh no, let me finish telling you this on count one, because if you're a tax preparer, you need to know this. If a tax return preparer's conduct is continual or repeated, and the court finds that a narrower injunction would not be sufficient to prevent the preparer's interference with the proper administration of the Internal Revenue laws, the court may permanently enjoin the person from acting as a tax preparer. And that's what they're requesting for this tax preparer. They're not saying, okay, put him in timeout for 3 months, 6 months, a year, or 2 years. No, they are asking for him to be permanently banned from preparing tax returns. Okay, count two. Count two is injunction under 26 U.S. Code Section 7408. That's for all my code heads. Basically, that means you ain't fooling nobody. That's what the Internal Revenue Service. They're saying you knew what you was doing. And don't act like you're confused now. Don't act like you don't know tax law now, because you didn't accidentally add a business to somebody's tax return. You knew what the hell you was doing. These ain't no typos. You an EA and you a certified analyst, whatever that means. So this is, let me break down that charge for you, or will that count for you? Section 7408 of the Internal Revenue Code authorizes a district court to enjoin any person from engaging in conduct subject to penalty under 26 USC Section 6701. Section 6701 of the Internal Revenue Code penalizes a person who aids or assists in the preparation of a tax return that the person knows will result in an understatement of tax liability. Defendant has engaged in conduct subject to penalty under 26 USC Section 6701 by preparing income tax returns that claims false credits and deductions that they knew were improper, false, or inflated. Defendants' repeated actions fall within 26 USC Section 7408, and injunctive relief is appropriate to prevent reoccurrence of this conduct. If a defendant continues to act as a tax return preparer, his conduct will result in irreparable harm to the United States and the United States with no adequate remedy at law. Defendant's conduct has caused and will continue to cause substantial tax losses to the United States Treasury, much of which may be undiscovered and unrecoverable. The IRS will have to devote substantial and unrecoverable time and resources auditing his customers individually to detect understated liabilities and overstated refund claims unless the court enjoins defendants' activities. So all this is saying is, if you don't permanently ban him, we're gonna have to audit each of his clients' tax returns to figure out what was overstated and what was understated. Again, taxpayers, that's why you need to go to somebody that is reputable. Don't price shop tax returns. Count three, and I'm not going to read any more of the counts because I'm running out of time. I'm gonna give you my Ebonics version of the rest of the counts. Count three is injunction under 26 USC for unlawful interference with the enforcement of internal revenue laws. What that means is now you messing up the system. Okay, the IRS is like, not only are you wrong, but you're making our job harder because now they gotta audit every tax return that you touched, which they will do. They gotta fix all these returns and they gotta chase down their money because if they paid returns that wasn't supposed to be paid, of course they're gonna request their money back. And that's why none of this at the end of the day is worth it for the taxpayers or the tax preparers. For taxpayers, the refund might be great now and the money might be great now, but at the end of the day, when you're caught, you're going to be audited and you're going to have to pay that money back. And not only are you going to have to pay that money back, but now you got to pay back penalties and interest on top of the money. So you're going to lose at the end. Tax preparers, you're going to lose at the end because you can be banned from preparing taxes and you can be publicly humiliated, just like the IRS is trying to do this tax preparer. Count four is, let me read you count four, disgorgement of ill-gotten profits under 26 USC 7402. What that means is the IRS is saying, I mean, the government is saying, run me my money back. Run me my money back. They said, give us our money back. All them fees you was collecting, run it back. You made money off doing it wrong. Now they're like, well, take it, baby, take it. Let me pull up the next count. Okay, those were all the counts, but this is what I wanted to read you because this is where where the government is going to publicly humiliate tax preparers. So they're asking the court. I'm going to read the relief that they're asking for the courts. Wherefore, the United States respectfully requests that the court find that the defendant has repeatedly and continually engaged in conduct subject to penalty under 26 USC section 6694 and 6695, and that injunctive relief is appropriate under US 7407. And they're saying to prevent reoccurrences of that conduct, these are the things that they're asking the court to do. Find that the defendant has repeatedly and continually engaged in conduct subject to penalty under 26 USC section 6700 and 6701, and that injunction relief is appropriate under 26 USC section 7408 to prevent recurrence of that conduct. I'm going to give it to you in plain English in a minute. They're saying, find that the defendant repeatedly and continually engaged in conduct that substantially interferes with the proper enforcement and administration of the Internal Revenue laws, and that injunctive relief is appropriate under 26 USC 7402A to prevent recurrences of that conduct. Permanently enjoin the defendant and any other person working in concert or participation with him from directly or indirectly stop him from preparing, directing, or assisting in the preparation of federal tax returns, amended returns, any other tax related documents and forms, including any electronically submitted tax returns or tax related documents for any entity or person other than himself. So what they're saying is, we want y'all to ban him from preparing any returns. Don't even let him assist in preparing tax returns. He can mess up. He can't mess up nobody else tax returns. If he want to mess himself up, we'll allow him to do that. That's what they're saying. They're also saying stop him from filing, assisting in filing, or directing that filing of federal tax returns. Don't let him own, operate, manage, control, work for, profit from, or even volunteer for any business or entity that's engaged in tax preparation. So they're saying don't let him have nothing to do with the tax industry at all. If he want to go to a VITA, which is where people go to get volunteer tax preparation done for free, they don't even want him volunteering to do tax preparation. They're also saying don't let him use, maintain, review, obtain, transfer, sell, or assign any prepared tax identification numbers or any EFINs. An EFIN is the electronic filing identification number. So they don't want him to have no PTINs or no EFINs at all. They don't want him to transfer, sell, or assign his customer list or any other customer information to anybody. So he can't even sell his tax business or his customers if he wanted to. Don't let him engage in any activity subject to penalty under 26 USC section 6694, 6695, or 6701. Don't let him engage in any conduct that substantially interferes with the proper administration and enforcement of internal revenue laws and from promotion of any false tax schemes. Require, and this is what blowed me away. Like I don't know. Some people said that the IRS is taking it too far with this, and some people are saying that they're holding this person accountable. They're saying require the defendant by injunction and order to, at his own expense and within time specified below, send by certified mail, return receipt requested to each person from whom defendant prepared federal tax returns or any other federal tax forms after January 1st of 2023 within 30 days of entry of the final injunction in this action. So they're saying after you ban him, court, after you approve of this of us banning him from the tax industry, within 30 days, we want him to send by certified mail and return receipt requested a copy of the final injunction that entered against defendant in this action, a copy of this complaint setting forth the allegations as to how the defendant fraudulently prepared federal tax returns. They also want him to turn over to the United States copies of all the returns and claims for refunds that he prepared after January 1st of 2023, and he got to do that within 30 days. Now, if y'all gonna do that, government, I feel like you should start, or I feel like they should go back to when all this started. But I don't know if the statute of limitations ran out. I don't know what the issue is, but they're only asking for this starting January 23 and after. They're also saying that they want the defendant to provide to the United States a list of names, social security numbers, addresses, phone numbers, and email addresses of each person that the defendant prepared tax returns and other tax forms or claims for refunds after January 1st of 2023. And he got to do that within 30 days of the final injunction. And it doesn't matter what PTN was used or what EFIN was used, because what tax preparers do is once they get caught with using certain PTNs or EFINs, they just go out and they either purchase more by purchasing. I mean, they'll pay a preparer or pay anybody to get these numbers in their names. They also want him to prominently post within 30 days of the injunction at his place of business, telling everybody that comes to his business or telling everybody who he prepared tax returns. They want him to post a statement saying, and the statement that he posts, by the way, has to be approved by the United States. So he can't write anything. He can't dress it up. Whatever he write, he has to get approved by the United States first. And then he has to post that he was banned, basically. And he has to post that on his business. He also has to post posted on all of his social media platforms. This is insane. I'm going to read it to you exactly how it is in the complaint. Post for 2 years and in a prominent location on all social media accounts and websites that the defendant uses to advertise their tax preparation business, a statement that they have been enjoined from preparation of tax returns, a copy of the injunction, and a hyperlink to any press release regarding the injunction that the Department of Justice may issue. So, what they're saying is for 2 years, I want you to post a statement telling everybody that you are banned from preparing taxes. You also got to post this on all social media accounts that you use to advertise your business. You got to post that on that and on your website for 2 years. This is insane. Not only do you got to post that you was banned for 2 years, but you got to post a copy of the injunction saying that you were banned. You also got to include a link to the press release saying that you were banned. Is the IRS doing too much? Is the government doing too much, y'all? I keep saying the IRS. Is the Department of Justice doing too much? Because this is insane. But that ain't it. He also has to deliver a copy of the injunction to any of his employees, to any of his contractors, or any other individuals that prepare tax returns on his behalf, to all his vendors. And the vendors, that's the tax preparation software companies. So let's just say he used Drake. If he used Drake, he got to send all of this to Drake as well, saying I'm banned. The IRS, the Department of Justice means business. And he can't do this on his time, y'all. He has to do all of this as soon as the court approved the ban or give the Department of Justice what they're asking for. He got 30 days to do this. Or let me tell you what's going to happen if you don't do it. Let me get to that. Hold on. Before I get to that, they said they after the court give them what they're asking for, the Department of Justice what they're asking for, they're going to immediately revocate all P10s, all EFINs. What else they're going to do? The defendant has to cease using all P10s and all EFINs, even if it's not in use. And enter an order informing defendants that the failure to comply with the injunction may result in sanction of civil or criminal contempt, including but not limiting to. So this is what's going to happen if he don't follow what the court tell him to do. Because in the past, even though he knew he was on the investigation, and even though the Department of Justice requested certain information from him, he bucked the system. He didn't show up to no meetings. He didn't provide any information that was requested. He still continued to do this fraudulent shit. So they're saying, if you buck this system again, this is what's going to happen. Disgorgement of fees for returns prepared in violation of the injunction. You're going to have to reimburse the United States of all costs associated with enforcing the injunction. Seizure of items with returns being prepared, including your computers. Daily fines for non-compliance. So every day that you don't comply, you're going to be fined. Barring access to locations at which returns are being prepared in violation of the injunction, including permitting the United States to change the locks, y'all. Oh my gosh. They will change the locks at any location at which returns are prepared in violation of the injunction to prevent the employees and customers from entering the locations. And appointment of a receiver to take possession of any business at which defendant prepares returns in violation of this injunction and the assets of said business, and to sell the business and its assets to pay civil compensatory sanctions imposed on the defendant. After a period of discovery to determine an appropriate amount of disgorgement, order the defendant to disgorge their ill-gotten gains to the United States. Award the United States its costs incurred in connection with this action, along with such other relief as justice requires. This is a lot. So if you are a tax preparer and you think a small deduction that the client don't really qualify for, or a small credit that the client don't really qualify for, or a business that the client don't really have, if you think that that won't get you in this, fuck around and find out. That's all I got to say. Mess around and find out. Like, this is a lot, y'all. Woo. Let me see what the people are saying in the comments. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, I've been on here 40 minutes. I have been on here entirely too long, but I know I won't have time to go back and to go on live again this week. So I wanted to get it all out today. Now, if you're not on the live now, you're gonna have to catch it when it's posted on my YouTube channel, because I'm not keeping this up. I'm not keeping it up. Yes, Kenyatta, that's a lot. Good morning. Good morning. Kenyatta said they want to humiliate him in the worst way. Yes. So I think that the government is making an example. They are showing tax preparers what's going to happen to you if you don't stop all this madness that these fraudulent tax preparers are doing. And like I said, this isn't just for those promoters or people that are making themselves ghost preparers. This man was an enrolled agent, so he wouldn't just know anybody. Good morning, Kamika. What up, bro? Good morning, George. Yeah, this is a lot, y'all. This is a lot. If you are a tax preparer, it's not worth it. I promise you, it is not worth it. You're gonna be hit in so many ways as a tax preparer. Due diligence fines that you won't be able to recover from, penalties, interest, penalties are gonna come from everywhere. You're gonna get penalties on top of those due diligence penalties, interest on top of the penalties. You're gonna get fraud penalties, probably accuracy related penalties if the fraud penalties don't stick. The IRS has so many different penalties that they can hit you with. And don't forget that there is interest on top of those penalties. And taxpayers, you can't say you ain't know, because at the end of the day, when you sign that tax return, you are signing under penalties of perjury, and you are saying that I agree that everything on this tax return is true. Now, to the taxpayers' defense that really don't know, always request a copy of your full tax return before you leave that tax preparer's office, so that if this happens to you, you'll have proof, possibly, of the return that you were given, the return that you thought was filed. That can show the government, hey, this is what I was given. This is what I was told would be submitted. I didn't know nothing about no other Schedule C, no Schedule A, no Schedule E, no 4562. This is all the fraudulent stuff that tax preparers are adding on taxpayers' tax return that they may or may not be aware of. So that 2-page 1040, that is not your complete tax return. You should have at least a minimum of 40 pages. That's a full tax return. So if your tax preparer is only giving you page 1 and page 2 of that 1040, that is not a complete tax return. Tell them you need copies of all the schedules that goes with the tax returns, and if you are using a bank product, that's another 40 pages. That's another 40 pages that they are required to give you copies of. when I was preparing taxes, my client that I used to purchase these cute little booklets, and I used to put their entire tax return in it. Some of them didn't want it, but I was required to give it to them. And you all, you got to know your rights. You have the right to a full copy of your tax return. So, that's my time. I have went way over today. I got a lot of appointments that I need to prepare for, but I do stuff like this so taxpayers that price shop can see what happens or what can happen when you are looking for the person that will give you the biggest refund. You better know what comes along with that large refund, especially if in prior years you normally owed, or you broke even, or your refund was like $1 or $2. You're not gonna go from on breaking even or getting a $2 refund to a $30,000 refund. Make that make sense. You come on now. Y'all know that don't make sense. All right. I hope you all enjoyed this today. I enjoy reading complaints and cases and sharing it with you all so you can be aware of what's going on in the industry, and for tax preparers to be aware of the public shame that you can be up against with the government from doing stuff like this. So y'all have an amazing week. I have a week. This is another travel week for me, so I won't be on a lot, but I'll try to check in and post tax updates, especially fraud updates, because fraud is my thing. Y'all have an amazing Tuesday and the rest of the week, and I will talk to you soon.